All right, y'all. Welcome back to part 2 of the rod grip, tape arbor, and reel seat install video. I had to cut that last one a little short just because it was getting a little too long. I figured it'd be easier to break it into the 2 parts. You may be watching this at different times, but this is still the same epoxy I had mixed up from the previous video. Now you don't have to do this at the same time. If you just want to mix up a little epoxy and just put your reel seat on, or your grips on, let those dry so you don't have to worry about it. Come back and do this, that's fine too. But I'm just doing it all at once just because I got a bunch mixed up and that's just how I like to do it. If you do it like that, you just have to be mindful that these are still wet and they can slide back and forth. So you just gotta be careful with that. But basically what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be taking our tape, we're gonna be making 3 rings right here. And the reason we gotta do that is because on our reel seat is bigger than the rod. So basically all we're doing is making 3 rings right here just to fill in the empty space right here. And we'll slide over and keep this from wobbling around. And the other thing I grabbed is from that kit, it comes with these rod stands. And I like using that for spinning the tape on just because it's easier and quicker to spin, so the rod doesn't try to walk all over you as you're trying to spin. So the seat will sit right there, and I'm just gonna make a little mark down here. So I know that the first tape ring needs to go just before here, because the foregrip will go right here. So obviously you don't want to put the tape where the foregrip's gonna go, or else you'll have a weird gap. So this is really easy. It just takes a little bit of time. So we're just gonna take our tape. I'm gonna put it, let's go here. And then literally, just take it and I'm just gonna roll it on. And you don't end up needing a crazy amount, especially if you're doing, this is a medium light, but if you're doing like a medium strength, medium heavy, the rod's a lot thicker at the base and you end up really not needing that much at all. This is a medium light, so need a little bit. I'm gonna try this right here. So I'll take this. And actually may be perfect. I think I got it perfect. I'm gonna put it one more little pass on. And this is definitely gonna make it too big, but that's okay, we can take it off. I just want it to be real snug. Press it down. Okay, so I can almost fit this over, but you don't want to force it over because then you'll start messing up the tape. So what I like to do is I just like to take off a few inches at a time. Okay, now if I wanted to, I could have forced it over there, but you can see how it's kind of mushing the tape. You want to go over just snug. And watch, it'll end up being, or it's end up taking off all that tape I just put on. Okay, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but that's the sound of the reel seat snugly sliding on that tape. So I'm gonna slide it all the way to the end. So now you can see there's no wobble in this at all, but we gotta put 2 more, my bad. So just for the sake of making it look pretty, I like to do this one first, or second. And you just do the exact same thing. little bit more for good measure, but I think we're gonna be hammering out too much on. But we can always remove it. So, on past the first one. Yeah, too big. I'd rather be too big and just rip off big chunks than be too small and add tiny little pieces until it fits over. Okay, so that went over, but I almost had to force it over. I don't want to do that because I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of caving in that tape. So I'm just gonna peel off literally like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Press it down a little bit. Boom. So, perfect. So now, just for good measure, we'll throw one right here in the middle. And just like before, same thing. You want to try to roll it on as straight as you can. Just make it stronger, but it's okay if you get a little off. Sorry, didn't realize it marked itself. Tiny bit too big. That's what we want. Ooh, just a tiny bit too big still. Okay. There we go. Slide over all three. Boom. We're good. Hey, tight. Now, you just want to be careful, because I don't want to forget to say this. Whenever we're gonna put epoxy in between all that tape, and then you want to pay attention to our spine line. And now this is where I like to put like a ton on, because all those like winding checks and grips and everything, it scrapes this off. So you don't want to get to this point and go, oh crap, where's my spine? So since this is a casting rod, whenever we put this on, we want to make sure, I call this the trigger. The trigger is perfectly in line with our spine. So if it was epoxy right now, we'd be perfect. If this was a spinning rod, you would line up this side with the spine. But this is a casting. So slide that off. And just like before, we're gonna glob on our epoxy. And like I said, you don't need as much as I use, but I would rather have way too much and just wipe it off than not have enough and worry about my grip falling off. Especially my real seat. I don't want that to lose. And then I like to make sure I fill in all these little gaps right here. Make sure all the tape's covered. Kind of encase the little tape rings, tape arbors in epoxy. Put some on the front right here, because there's gonna be a little gap. I don't want it to be sealed. And like I said, this is probably entirely too much epoxy, but that's how I like to do it. So, one second, let's clean up an epoxy spot real quick. Okay, so all we're gonna do, it'll be the same motion, but I'm gonna grab it here and turn it because I want to grab the grips. Carefully slide it over, work it over that first one. It'll be the same twisting motion. And then let me find my spine. Okay, spine's right here. And all I'm doing, you can only see what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go look down the butt end, kind of like you're looking down like a scope. And I'm just gonna make sure I'm in line with the spine. Cool. And so now we just want to be super careful that we don't twist this. And then we have a tiny little extra right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just clean that up. Oops. See, I must have pushed this rear grip, which is why you gotta be careful. That tape arbor in the front was sticking out. That is my bad. Okay, still in line with the spine. So, see, this is how y'all know you're getting raw footage. So I'm showing mistakes and everything. I was wondering why I wasn't pushing out a bunch of epoxy. Okay, so it's got alcohol soaked rag. Turn me off with a paper towel. And I can see, it's not on camera, down here, from me sliding it back and forth, I made some epoxy come out. Cool. And now while this is drying, because I want to see how much more I need to wipe off, just save yourself a big pain in the butt in about 5 minutes. These threads right here, I'll tear off a piece of tape and I'll wrap the threads closer to the front, because whenever you put the foregrip on, if you push epoxy up over those threads and the epoxy gets all in those threads, it's a pain to get all that out. And it's not the end of the world if it happens. You just wipe it out with alcohol, but it's quite the pain. So I'm glad I made a mistake. Or not a mistake, but I'm glad there was a small error just so I can show y'all. Okay, so I can see back here, there's still a decent amount of epoxy. And especially on this gloss black real seat. I want to make sure I get that off, because I want it to look as good as possible. And you can wipe this stuff off for pretty much the whole set time. It comes off pretty well with alcohol. Okay, so we'll let that evaporate, and then we'll go ahead and put on a foregrip and our other winding check. Cool. So I got a foregrip ready to go right here. That's our spine line, trigger, we're right in line. So all we gotta do, slap a little epoxy on right here, and then see how much of that China marker got wiped off, but that should be the end of, yep. Should be the end. So just like before, and I can tell this stuff's starting to get kind of thick. And it's been about 35, 40 minutes. And I like to put a little bit, just a little bit, I mean, I guess I like to kick it on all of them, but I like to put a little bit extra towards the front right here, because, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little cavity right here in between the tape arbor and the end of the real seat that I want to get filled with epoxy. So, just like before, we'll do the same little twist and pull back and push motion. And so that big glob right there is going to get pushed up inside there, which is perfect. Boom. And so whenever you start trying to wipe this off, here's my other toothpick. All this would have gotten all over these threads and it would have been a pain. And all I'm doing right now is just getting off the little initial giant globs, because as you can see there, now there's a gap because I pushed it up trying to wipe it off. So when I push it back on, it'll push some more out. That's okay. Paper towel. You end up going through a lot of paper towels. And I can't remember if I mentioned this in the first video when I was talking about drilling it out. If you accidentally drill one out too big, like let's say I drilled this one out too big, all you would do is basically use this tape and basically do the same thing as we did with the real seat and kind of make you little arbors just to make it snug. So if you drill it out too big, I wish I would have said that earlier, but it is not the end of the world. So, as you can see, this is what I get for globbing it on, but hey, I'd rather have too much. Okay, so now, find the end of this tape. I'm gonna carefully peel this off because I don't wanna get it anywhere. So now you can see, I mean, there's still some Still some epoxy right there, but that's much easier to wipe off than if that was all inside those threads. So I'm just pouring some alcohol on another paper towel. I'm gonna clean this up, and then I'm gonna put the winding check on there because that'll help keep it in place. I just wanna make sure I get the majority out, and then at the very end, we'll go through and hit kind of everything with rubbing alcohol just to make it, clean it up, make it pretty. All right. So now, final piece, winding check. Slide this on. Right about there. Get our trusty toothpick. And just like on the butt. Just kind of paint it on. And as you can see, there's a ton left over. So you do not need to mix it that much, but I know I keep saying it, but I just like to make a ton so I can just slap it on. Scoop this on with a finger. Push it with our thumbnail. Make sure it's all flat. And then guess what? Paper towel with alcohol. Okay, so let's see where all, so I can see some more epoxy smushed out here. Put some more alcohol in a little piece of paper towel. And again, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So if you find a way that works for you, go for it. This is by no means the end all be all way of doing this, but this is just kind of how I learned as a intermediate level rod builder to do it. And I get sometimes a little too meticulous with making sure everything's super clean, but it's worth it at the end when you can look at it and you don't go, oh man, I wish I would have taken the extra 2 minutes and make sure I clean up all the epoxy and all that stuff. So I can see there's some right here. That's good. It should be, yeah, we're good down here. But I'm gonna hit it anyway. I keep seeing stuff come out of here. Alright, yeah. And honestly, if this foregrip, this ends up being covered in epoxy, like the clear coat anyway, whenever you clear coat your eyes and decals and all that on. So I'm just being extra right now. Cool. Just like that. we're done. Got our butt on, rear grip, real seat, foregrip. Got it all cleaned up. Got our spine line right here, perfectly in line with the trigger. And now you don't need this anymore, so it's okay if this comes off now. So you're good. But yeah, that's it. So I wouldn't, if I was you, if you can stand it, I know you may be jumping at the gun to start doing your eyes and all that on, but honestly, I wouldn't touch this for a day. I would let this cure, let it get nice and hard, and that way you don't have to worry about anything coming loose. So yeah, that's it. Sorry, both videos were a little long, but I didn't want to cut anything out. Like I didn't want to cut out that mistake or any of that. I just want to make sure y'all see the raw footage. So the next one, I'll probably do a quick video on how to measure where to put the eyes, because it's a little tricky. But I'm gonna show you how to do it with a ruler, in case you don't have like a 7-foot yardstick or tape measure or whatever. I'll show you an easy way to do it with a ruler, because everybody has a ruler. So yeah, I'll probably throw up a short video on how to measure where rod eyes go, and then we'll start wrapping rod eyes and doing cool decorative stuff, the fun part. So I would say at this point, this part takes a while. I would say we're 40% of the way done. The rest of the part's just a bunch of repeating the same step. So yeah, that's it. Thank y'all for watching, like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.